And we're
Hello.
back. And Sean's back. Yeah, Baz,
Yeah.
you look different.
Yeah.
Take the hat off, keep the hat on. We're about to get stuck in. We've got about 5 minutes, so we thought we'd give you a little bit of a pod breakdown. Have a look at the heroes that are being drafted. First of all, in the top pods, top 8 pod, what heroes have they been picking? What classes are they going for? And this is the breakdown. And I think Baz just showed this to me, and I said to him, this looks like a pretty standard
Yep.
Monarch breakdown. 3 Prism, 2 Bolton, 2 Chain, and 1 Levia. I mean, I would say Prism is one of the stronger heroes in Monarch draft. And Levia, one of the harder ones to play. Levia are also very difficult to play if there's more than one Levia.
Yeah.
And this to me kind of looks like these are the top players, right? They know how to draft really well. They seem to have read their seats kind of well. You've got to see the decks, but that's what it looks like to me, Sean.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I was keeping an eye on one of the draft, actually. It was really interesting, particularly to see, well, I guess maybe to start off with that one Levia. That one Levia player is certainly going to be very happy to find out that they are the only Levia in the pod. Otherwise, God, dividing up some of those the Levia or the Shadow Brute card pool amongst more than one player is really rough.
It also means the other thing with like one Levia is that generally means there might be a few more 6-power generics knocking around. There hasn't been 2 Levias like hoovering them all up for their decks. So it might mean that the Chain and the Bolton player might have a few more 6 powers. The Chain might have a couple of the Shadow 7-power one that can be good for shutting down a Herald and trying to slap back with a big turn of their own. So hopefully you freed up a bit of space for the Chain to get some disruption against the Heralds, the Phantasm Heralds of the 3 Prisms.
Yeah. And I was watching Johnny draft his Chain deck, and he was certainly able to pull out some of they're called the Shadow 6-power yellow. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head now. But I mean, obviously, it just get a few of them in the deck. It'll certainly protect you against that in that Prism matchup and make it a lot easier.
I think 2 Bolton though I think is pretty good. I think people underestimate Bolton. Like there's a lot that Bolton can do, especially if they get hold of a couple of V for Vanguards. Like and sometimes there's even a Lumina going around the table. I did hear tell of a Lumina that completely wheeled. Nobody wanted, so that's an interesting pod. Maybe we'll see a bit of that pod 3. Yeah, nobody wanted to play Bolton, so I think Bolton's pretty decent. It can really do well. It can be tricky against Prism, but I think if you get enough of these, you can do the stuff. So two Bolton. No, it would be nice to see how the Bolton does. I think we might get a Bolton on stream depending on who we get up for round 1. Chain is quite a difficult hero to play in Monarch because it's once you start in Monarch draft, once you start soul shackling, it can be quite tricky to run out. You run out of deck quite easily. When you soul shackle, you banish the top card of your deck equals the number of soul shackles you have every turn. So once you get up to 4 or 5 shackles, you're running out of deck super quickly in Monarch. It is a 15 card per pack draft. So if you've been playing Flesh and Blood recently, we've had 14 cards to draft, but in Monarch it was 15, so you do have 45 drafted cards, so you can have a relatively big deck, but even then if you're banishing 5 or 6 cards a turn, you're going to run out of cards very, very quickly.
Yeah. And I remember ages ago when I participated in a Monarch draft, I was able to take Prism to victory. That was my only I guess victorious Monarch draft, and I just snatched up all of the big attacks in Prism and quite happily took it all the way.
Prism's pretty good, and there's also there's always a chance you pick up a Luminaris in this. It's only a Majestic. I did a Monarch draft at the start of the national season. I managed to first ever Monarch draft in the new season. I got a Luminaris and went 3-0 with Prism. It's pretty fun to do. But we'll see if anyone's got anything spicy in those Prism decks. In the Prism mirrors, it can get quite interesting, especially if one of those Prisms has got some auras to play, some of the rare yellow auras. Of course, none of the blue auras in Monarch draft, none of that rubbish. It's all traditional forecast yellow auras. Let's have a little look at the breakdown of pod 2. So this is another pod with 5 3-0s going into it, so top players of the game. This one we're looking a little bit different. 1 Chain, and I think this is where Johnny's Chain deck that you were just talking about, Sean, this is where that Chain deck is. Gonna have some pretty good spice in that deck. Gonna be pretty happy being the only Chain. Again, we're seeing 2 Levia can sometimes get a bit tricky when there's multiple Levia. Getting the card quality you need can be quite difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And 3 Bolton. How do
Yeah.
we fancy those 3 Bolton decks?
Well, I think I heard tell
a
that
bit
they were
thin?
all sitting on the same corner of the table, so I've not got particularly high hopes for the Boltons. But
Yeah.
you know, anything can happen. You could pair up against 2 Boltons in a row, maybe. So the other Boltons. So, you know, the Levia's not looking too well. Not to you know, you never know what they got, but like two Levia is not what I want to see. I want to be the only Levia in the pod generally in a Monarch draft.
Yeah.
So you know, there's heroes to be picked up here to try and get. You know, you can damage control in the draft, right? You can be like, look, I'm not going to 3-0, but I'm going to 2-1. I'm going to minimize my losses. The main thing you don't want to do is you don't want to go 0-3. One person in this pod, one person in all of the pods is going to lose all 3 of their games. That is what happens in drafts, and that is why it can completely upset the like apple cart, as it were, of the tournament. Players who have come into this 3-0. These 2 pods, we had 13 players, I think it was, 8 in the first pod, 5 in the second pod, all on 3-0. At least one of them, maybe even 2 of them, are going to finish this draft 3-3. Having had the most fantastic start to this tournament, are going to go into the second draft with equal wins and losses.
Absolutely. And, you know, you can have put in all of the practice that you could possibly have wanted in the entire world into CC, but if you're not prepared for this draft, then you're not gonna be seeing much of day 2, really, are you?
You're not really. Lose 3 games today. It's I mean, near impossible to make top 8. I don't know the exact details on that. I know you can lose 4 games. You still got a really good chance of finishing in the top 24. But if you go 0-3 in the draft, it can be really tricky to then recover from that to get yourself back in the top 8, or even to get yourself back in contention for a cash prize at the end of this tournament. Remember, top 24, they all receive $225, which is not to be sniffed at.
Absolutely not.
As we're saying, always good to win money.
I mean,
from your
that's
hobby.
your weekend paid for, isn't it?
Just about,
essentially.
yeah. Depends on where you're staying.
Yeah. Depends on how much your train tickets
How much
cost.
does the train ticket cost?
We've had
how much petrol money you pay to Sean in the morning for driving me all the way here. But wouldn't be here without him, so kudos to Sean.
Well, I know a lot of people maybe have sort of had to come up with, I guess, plan Bs as a result of local rail strikes in the UK. So, fortunately, a few people maybe haven't been able to make it. But, I mean, it's been an amazing event so far.
This Saint Sean, he finished work at 6 o'clock yesterday. Took him an hour and a half to drive to my house. And then another 3.5 hours to get to Leeds. So that's what, 5 hours. I know, you know, if you're waking up in the United States of America right now and you're thinking to yourself, 5 hours to do that every day. Well, not in the UK. We don't do that around here.
No, absolutely not.
We drive more than an hour is a long drive, right?
That's why you have to excuse maybe the amount of coffee we're both consuming today to try
no, I will not be excused.
keep the energy levels high.
If anything, I'm drinking less. I think this is my 3rd one, and it's 2:15. I should be on number 4 by now. It's crazy. The first coffee we had this morning was right. I don't want to diss the Royal Armories Ibis Hotel. I think it is Ibis Hotel. Man, that coffee stinks.
Yeah.
But we got some great coffee down the road. Nice little coffee shop. And then Sean, the angel, went out and bought us all a coffee. So, right, we have the game coming up for you guys. We're seeing Sammy Braben. Now, I recognize that name, Sammy Braben. Who is this Sammy Braben, Sean?
I heard he's all right. He's actually, if I recall correctly, he's UK calling champion. The first UK calling champion.
Yeah.
Took it all the way with Icelander. And now we're going to see if he can throw out some punches in Monarch draft.
Been playing the game for a year, but picked up Icelander like a pro. Won the Calling
Youngster.
Birmingham, Calling UK with Icelander, beating some incredible players along the way. But now we are going to come up to you with a Sammy Braben Bolton
Mirror.
versus a Harrison Shaw Bolton, a Bolton Mirror. Laughing at the coffee at the Ibis. It is not good. I swear they put this big chunk, they got this big vat of coffee beans on top of the coffee machine. And I tell you for nothing, those coffee beans are not going into the coffee.
No, I think they're plastic.
That is all display.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all display. It's just trash. But anyway,
Absolutely.
this isn't about Ibis
coffee.
coffee. This is about flesh and blood. And immediately, let's have a little look. We see that Sammy has got a really good set. Got the Gallantry Gold, which is really good to have as the Bolton player, and the Halo of Illumination. Really nice for setting up a card in Soul that can be later be used to use Bolton's ability to give an attack go again if it has attack greater than its base. We do see one equipment piece on the side of Harrison is yet to be revealed. we got some people Team Harrison, some people Team Sammy here. Like We're neutral in the booth though. I do see Sammy has got his
Icelander,
sleeves.
just to remind you where his heart really lies.
Yeah. Um, So think about Bolton. If you've not played the game before, Bolton's warrior hero uses these axes. What Bolton can do is he can charge cards to his soul. That's an additional cost,
Like
essentially, to
resource
pay a
as well.
card. And what those charge cards, they go underneath Bolton's hero card. And then if you attack with a card, if it doesn't have go again, if you are able to get that card's attack, or that I shouldn't even say card, that the attacks, weapon attacks work too, to go above its base power, you can essentially banish a card from your soul that you've charged to give it go again. And once you've charged a card, Bolton also gets an additional effect where if they block with an attack action card, it will buff the attack, which then obviously lets you use Bolton's other ability to give it a go again because it now has attack greater than its base. So both of these heroes are going to be trying to do stuff like that. We're going to see the crazy thing about draft is you never know what is going to happen. You know, never going to know what cards people have got in their deck. We did see there was 2 Bolton, I believe it was, on this table, so we're expecting them to have some decent cards in their build. But let's see how this plays out on turn 1. Samuel making Harrison go first.
Yeah, and we see Harrison as well. Actually, doesn't have 1 piece of equipment, but 3. He deceived all of us.
That's
So
the way to do it
Harrison
because
here.
you don't have to reveal your equipment until after the roll.
Yeah, why not?
But
Keep everybody
Harrison's just
guessing.
gonna come in with an Illuminate. Currently, no cards in Soul, and it's at its base power, so not gonna be able to buff this. Give it go again. So probably just gonna
So
play
I'm
this
just gonna
card out,
block
get
this
some
out.
blocks, and maybe develop the arsenal here.
Yeah. Okay.
So not too shabby there from for Sammy there, because not a huge amount of pressure, allowed him to sort of cycle his hand there. Get out some cards he doesn't really want to see, make sure that his hand's as powerful as possible. We talked about Gallantry Gold earlier. You can pay 1 to give your weapons +1 this turn, which is obviously great with Bolton's hero ability. We also mentioned Halo of Illumination. You can pay 1 to put a
card into
put a light card into your soul, and then you draw a card. So a really good way of developing a little bit of cards in soul for Bolton. We see the Express Lightning go down with a little charge here.
Okay. So Bolton's charged.
So these sort of there's a few cards in Bolton where they don't really have an additional effect if you charge, but they're just a good way of getting cards into soul. So both players just having a little bit of a slow start, though Sammy getting a little bit of advantage there, being able to develop a card in soul, while Harrison was not able to do so. But he does go into a take flight with a charge. This will give take flight go again, and this is one of the better ways to go a bit wider as Bolton. The take flights have go again when charged, so you don't need to go up a card in soul to give them go again.
Yeah. And obviously, if Bolton player can get the both hatchets off one after the other, they get a nice little bonus as well, right?
Yep. If you play one or the other, it gets a +1.
+1. Swing, swing. And we see a brandish coming in here. Coming in for 3. If it hits, gives the next attack +1. Or next weapon attack +1, I should say. With go again. So we're seeing a bit of a wide turn here from Harrison Shaw. Typically what we would expect from a Bolton player.
And you see there that we see the block there to prevent the brandish from hitting. Finish off with the illuminate. It should be noted that because Harrison is charged this turn with the take flight, Bolton's additional effect of if you block with an attack action card, the attack gets +1 is in effect.
So who are you backing for this win? Are we saying Samuel or are we saying Harrison? Give us your votes. Let's see.
I think Sammy blocked with the Gallantry Gold. I can't see what the card he blocked with there, whether it's a 2 block or a 3 block. I think he may have overblocked the brandish, thinking that maybe the non-attack was going to buff the brandish, but I don't think it would, because I think it's only attack action cards. Yeah, I think second swing blocks for 3, so I'm not sure that the Gallantry Gold was needed to block there, but I may have missed something. But I think maybe he thought because Bolton had charged, the non-attack would buff it, but I'm pretty sure it's only attack actions that provide the buff from Bolton's effect, so maybe a slight misplay there. But he has got a decent clap back here with just a 1 for 5. And if this hits again, we'll go into Soul. So maybe not quite using the Gallantry Gold there to the one block from Gallantry Gold to maximum effect, but it's not like he loses it. It's still in play.
So 1 for 5. Just nice. Makes it a bit awkward here for Harrison to block, right? Going into Soul, it's almost a race. Who can charge their Soul the most?
These Rising Solar Tides and Illuminates are good for filling Soul. They don't charge, they just put a card in Soul. But if the downside, of course, is they do have to hit. So, you know, if you draw a 2 block from this, which it looks like that's what Harrison is going to do, you're pretty happy.
See what Harrison has for us here.
For those that aren't aware, on Harrison's side of the field for the headpiece and the chest piece, these are kind of just you pay 1 to block 2 with them. So it's good to have more than one of them, because then, you know, you pitch 1 card, say a yellow card, you block for 4. So it's like your 1 card is blocking for 4, and also gets around things like Dominate, and obviously against Bolton. Again, if you're trying to avoid buffing a card, which would, through Bolton's hero ability, that would then allow him to banish a card, so I'll give it a go again. Equipment block is really useful, which is why it's kind of a little bit of a downside that Sammy has used up his Gallantry Gold. That's the kind of thing you would want to block against, like a Bolt of Courage for 1, you know, like a blue Bolt of Courage that when it's charged, if it hits, draw a card. That's a really good card to use Gallantry Gold on. We actually see Harrison playing his Gallantry Gold to try and make a turn here. Did a bit of blocking, so it doesn't have a huge amount of cards to turn this into a massive turn, and only has 1 remaining resource, but will be able to give this axe go again because it's now getting +1 from the Gallantry Gold, and he has the card in Soul to do that.
And he's obviously used the Gallantry Gold to block the turn before, since activating Gallantry Gold in the first place now will inevitably means that it gets destroyed. So utilizing it to its full effect, really. And yeah, John, you're absolutely right. With 3 Bolton in the
this was
in the pod is going to be.
So this was pod number 1 where we only had this is pod 1. So there was 3 Prism, 2 Bolton, 2 Chain, 1 Levia. We were looking at the second pod earlier, which was the 3 Bolton pods. So these 2 Bolton players were the only 2 Bolton players in this particular pod.
And probably sitting in opposite corners as well, right? So there's probably be interesting to see who ultimately drafted the.
So Harrison using their Gallantry Gold there quite early, which is fine.
And what push through 1 damage was that? I think total. Oh, and we see an activation from of Gallantry Gold from Sammy now.
Yeah, Sammy kind of following up with a very similar turn to what Harrison just did, trying to regain a little bit of tempo here.
And he's going to give it go again. And then swinging for the second. This time coming in for 3?
It'd be for 4, because of the +1 from Gallantry Gold and the +1 from the Hatchet of Body being played after the Hatchet of Mind. But Sammy, again, without cards in Soul. So both of these players used up their last card in Soul to be able to develop this sort of double axe turn using their Gallantry Gold. I'm not 100% sure that's the best use of the Gallantry Gold. I'd really want to be using Gallantry Gold when I have something like a second swing, or if I have one of the rare cards that allows me to swing twice with my axes in 1 turn.
So we see a Minnowism, red Minnowism come down here. Next, attack action card with 3 or less base gets +3. It's just an excellent card in
Engulfing Light is one of those cards we were talking about earlier. It's a really good charging card, but this one does have an additional effect that lets, which means that if this hits, it goes into Soul. So a really good card to buff. But, you know, 6 attack, I'm feeling like Sammy probably going to try and 2-block this. Though bear in mind that Harrison has charge, so if he blocks with attack action cards, it will buff Engulfing Light and potentially allow Harrison to banish that card in Soul to give this card go again. Yeah,
this is going to be a bit tricky to I guess efficiently defend against, right? Because Harrison's charged here. Makes it really awkward.
It's a good trade for Harrison here. He banishes the card in Soul, but knows that he's going to get another card come back into Soul.
Ooh.
And then will he choose to charge here? Might just keep this card in Arsenal. Yeah, not going to charge with this Express Lightning. 0 for 4 here. It's a nice beat stick. Sammy probably does not want to go down to 6, though Harrison is quite low as well on 11. He's probably going to take this, try and make something happen with this next turn.
Taking 10 this turn. Let's see what Sammy's
Yeah, I don't
got in
really
the back
hate
pocket
the
here.
previous turn where Sammy used his gallantry gold now because it was just a good way of making sure that the life totals didn't get too out of hand.
Hmm.
And he is now having a big five card hand here, going to try and make something happen. Now, of course, with Bolton, the 5 card hand's going to be a bit awkward. Well, not awkward, but you have to use a lot of your cards. Like if you want to charge,
Hmm.
you have to give up a card in hand. So we'll see what Sammy's able to make happen with this.
I'm playing the Seek Enlightenment, so
Mm.
pumps the next attack for +3, and if it hits, it goes into the soul. So again, just
Yeah.
keeping that soul just topped up.
Yeah,
It's
because
always ready to
because
go.
now Sammy can give this go again, and if it hits as well, he can essentially reset his soul. He's going to banish 1 card from soul to give the across the line go again, but then the across the line is going to go back into his soul.
And this is nice. He's pitched a blue. He's got that extra resource floating. There's some axes that are going to be coming in here as well potentially. So
So Harrison
let's
probably just
see.
playing around
Yeah. So he's giving it go
the
again.
+3 attack reaction that you can play if you've charged this turn because Sammy has charged coming into 8. Harrison on 11 needs to be careful of just immediately losing the game.
Okay. So takes the
So
7.
does respect that with a 4 block there.
Ooh,
But the bolt is really nice. It is going to come in for
bolt of courage.
3. He has charged this turn, so if Harrison 3 blocks this with an attack action, he'll actually go up to 4, hit anyway, potentially leave Sammy open to give it go again. So Harrison is probably going to take this and let Sammy draw a card from it.
How many cards has Harrison still got? What, 3 cards? Is pitched 1 to block
He
for
pitched 1 to
2
block
to
4
block.
to allow him to pivot into this turn. Going down to
So,
4, but Sammy's on 6. Harrison able to threaten a lot of damage here.
yeah.
There are cards like I think it's Courageous Steel Hand or something like that, which is the +3 attack reaction that Sammy needs to be aware of now.
Yeah.
He's sitting on 6 attack.
Okay.
Do see an
Let's
interesting
see.
card in Sammy's hand, but will he be
Okay. Here
able
we
to
go.
play it?
So you said it earlier, Trip. This take flight.
Yeah, big power
Harrison
card.
charges.
Big power card for Bolton, being able to go wide here and also preserve cards in
Yeah.
Soul. Harrison got
So take flight. He's going to be able to. It's got go again. 4 go again. It's coming in.
thing is that Sammy's getting to the point now where he has to start blocking, but if his cards are attack actions, he's also buffing. And that's when the axes become deadly, because when you're swinging the axe at them and you're presenting lethal, you have to block, otherwise you lose the game. But then you're also buffing the axe, which means that they can banish a soul, swing with the second axe. It's a really tricky position for any player to be in. We does seem that Sammy does have some non-attack in hand, so he is able to block this without buffing anything, but he might want to just take this 4 and then try and prevent any additional buffs on further cards to try and stop Bolton from being able to go really wide. But then he also needs to try and threaten 4 on the next turn, hopefully more. Otherwise, he's in trouble.
So Sammy here, having a think. UK calling champion.
It's not the craziest hand we've ever seen, but it does mean,
No.
I mean, the Spill Blood is really good because he can use it on the axes, kind of give them go again. He's going to probably try and keep the Spill Blood, and it's a pitch card, but the Spill Blood is a 3-block non-attack that really helps him shut down this turn that Harrison is having, so it's a really tricky decision for him to make. He also might just want to play around Courageous Steel Hand here, but I think it's tricky to do that.
If he's coming in with he's coming in for 4, then an axe for another 2, and then
he just needs to survive this turn, but he needs to be careful.
Yeah. Taking his time here, Sammy.
So this is kind of only blocking for 2 because it is buffing the take flight because Bolton has charged. So it's going to take 2 here, go down to 4.
First hatchet.
And now he can just take this.
Yeah. He's given himself that space, hasn't he?
He could use the red non-attack there, the one that's the +3 if it hits goes to soul, to block 2 and keep him safe.
Oh, he's going
to be able to make a turn happen here. If Harrison has nothing else to throw, I don't see how he can. Ooh,
blue and a Spill Blood.
Oh, Beacon of Victory.
Ouch.
That is not what Sammy wanted to see. That is a Majestic. That is wild. Okay, so that has thrown this completely.
Ooh.
Completely changed the game. He banished 1 card from Soul, so he's able to search for I think it's a one cost
Attack reaction.
as
Attack
an
action card.
action card
Action card.
with one cost or less. Reveal it, put it into your hand. That is great. So Harrison's going to be able to give this card go again,
Which
with
means
the last card in Soul.
so
But
he'll be
then
able to
what
come
is he
in.
then going to play? If he's got just a good chunky one cost card, he can just get that into hand and just try and force a double block. Yep, good choice, because he's
Oh.
banished a card this turn. The Tremor of Irithiel is going to come in for 6, which is really good.
Ouch.
So Sammy's going to take 1 extra damage here, and he's going to have to use these last 2 cards to block out this
Yeah.
Irithiel.
Looks like Harrison's. So then that's Harrison utilizing Bolton's soul to give the
It just
hatchet
shows
go
how
again.
impactful just these one-off Majestics that you can get in a draft can
Oh.
have. So because you
Coming in for
banish
6.
because you banish the cards from your soul when you give something go again with Bolton, that also activates the effect of Tremor. Normally you think, well, Tremor's a great card in Chain where you're banishing all the time, but Bolton banishes as well. So does Prism. And this card is a 1 for 6. This is a great, and it's going to force a double block here. Sammy can't block one card, he'll die. So it's going to completely clear out Sammy and let Harrison come back with a 4-card hand next turn. Beacon was insane in that situation. Perfect answer. And here we see it, Sammy having to use his great Majestic that he managed to draft with the Spillblood to shut down a turn enabled by Harrison's enabled by the great Majestic that Harrison managed to draft in Beacon of Victory.
Sammy on the back
And
foot
of course,
here.
is going to get
Goes
the
up to
buff
7,
as
yeah.
well. Sammy's going to go down to 2.
Oh.
And
Harrison's got all the tempo here.
Yeah.
All the tempo.
Worth bearing in mind, Harrison, he's not got a card in Soul anymore. Really depends what he draws into now. If he's able to get something into Soul, give something go again.
See some Minnoisms? Oh no.
Second swing, they're going to enable. Well, he doesn't. He needs to get a card in Soul. This is the moment. If Sammy can live through this, he might have a chance. But Harrison needs to secure something here.
Might be a bit awkward here. Harrison.
So
just coming in, engulfing light.
The engulfing light. It's not going to be lethal, but Harrison is still going to block.
He gets a card out of Harrison's hand.
Yeah, that is a good sign for Sammy. It makes him.
Sammy will be pleased with that.
He can't have the perfect answer. It was a really quick block from Harrison too, which suggests that it's not necessarily the best hand in the world.
Okay, Sammy's probably got a little bit more confidence after that.
So he's going to be able to go wide here.
Seek Horizon coming in for 3.
It's going to force a block. What is that follow-up card?
3 go again.
Oh, yeah, it's the yellow, sorry. So it'll be 3 go again.
3 go again. So he put a card on top of his deck in order to give it the go again. What are we expecting here? Yeah. So he's decided to try and apply the pressure, present lethal. That binding light is gonna be.
He can push the express. I think it's an express lightning red here, which means that if it is, it'll be a 0 cost for 4. I think Sammy can potentially just block with a card, and then he needs to decide whether he wants to Arsenal or charge. He does still have a card in Soul, so he could try and go wide on a future turn if he does that line. We'll have to see whether he decides to charge this bolt here. But he is going to force a block from Harrison on this turn because he is going to push 4 damage. Hero's running out of cards as well. Played a lot already.
But most importantly, Sammy's still got a card in Soul, which is more than what Harrison has.
And that's what's stopping Harrison from achieving like a big turn to go over and do this 2 damage. So Sammy not going to charge here, which is a good move. Get that card into Arsenal, allow him to do something on the next turn.
But it's also it is presenting lethal. It's asking Harrison. It's asking Harrison to block. Yeah.
I do see that Harrison has a V for Vanguard though, so it is going to be able to develop a card in Soul. Potentially go V into the axe, but I'm not sure how impactful that's going to be.
Blocks with a blue. This is tight, Mr. Drip. This is tight.
It's a bit cagey in this end. It looked like Harrison had completely run away with it with that beacon play. but Sammy just holding fast. And this is the thing, when you leave yourself with no cards in Soul and Bolton, you're very limited in what you can do, especially in this part of the game where you're having to block with 2 cards. It's very difficult to charge your Soul.
And it says a lot to your opponent, right? Your opponent's like, there's some comfort in seeing that your opponent's Soul is empty.
So
And
what's
that
going to
comfort
happen
will
here
have gone
is
away
that,
now.
Harrison is going to come in with the V. It's going to come in for 4. Then he's going to have to banish the card Insult and swing his axe for 3. So Sammy could go down to 1 here, leave himself with 2 cards. It's all face up. Harrison's got no more cards in hand. Sammy should be able to read exactly what this turn will be,
Yeah.
unless for some reason Harrison decides to not banish and swing with axe. But I think that's too. You got to keep pushing cards out of Sammy's hand. So Sammy needs to decide what he wants to slap back with here.
So coming in for 4.
Does
Does he have a non-attack in his hand at all?
I
Or?
think he wants to do. He could. So he's got a line here. Where he's got the bolt in arsenal. He can keep the Courageous Steel hand and another card to charge. He can play the bolt, charge the random card, and then go over with the Courageous Steel hand, try and steal it. That might even achieve the draw, which he can then use to banish a card from Salt and swing with the axe. I think that's what he's going to try and do here. With the double block. Double block?
They're really slogging at each other now.
Yeah, I would have
Both
misplayed that
players.
because he does need to double block for this.
Yeah.
And then now, because it's because of the buff of Bolton, he did need to double block that, otherwise he loses.
Yeah.
So now he needs to block for.
Okay.
Oh, a spicy stuff.
Oh, this is getting tight now.
This is coming in for 3. I feel like he needed to block the last one for 5, maybe with the Surging Militia and the 3 block. It was only coming in for 4 plus 1 is 5 from the Bolton effect. That would leave him with, it's still on 2 health, able to block here with 1 card and keep the. I think it's horses for courses. I don't think it makes much of a difference here because I think Sammy might just double block this and then play out the bolt from Arsenal and just force another card block from Harrison. Just be comfortable with the fact that Sammy's got a card in Soul and Harrison hasn't. Just keep himself on 2.
And how are we feeling in the
It's
chat?
a reaction actually, so it's all good. So the reaction will mean that there's no buff here from Bolton.
So it goes down to 1.
Also means that Sammy can decide here now. Yeah, he can charge a card, which means that now he can threaten
1 plays 3.
the draw.
How are you feeling here if you're Sammy? Is this?
I think you're feeling better now. You're making plays, which is good. If he charges this card with the bolt shot, the bolt of courage, it then means that if Harrison doesn't have an easy block, he could get the card draw off it, give it go again. If he draws a blue, he could come in with an axe and try and get another card off of Harrison, but then he's giving up his card in Soul. So
Yeah.
we'll see what he does here. He chooses not to charge. He's going to try and get another card in Arsenal, keep pushing back at Harrison, making Harrison have these 3-card hands. I do see a take flight. which
Take
is gonna be
flight.
really tricky.
Yeah. What
But he's going to
color
have
is
to
that?
give up a card to charge it.
It's yellow. Okay. Arsenal from Sammy.
Cagey stuff. 10 minutes to go.
Cagey
Plenty of
stuff.
time.
Cagey stuff.
Some good cards to block with if Harrison does charge.
Charge.
Because this is only
Yeah,
coming
there
in
it
for
is.
3, but he has another reaction card that blocks for 3 here, so can shut down this take flight very easily. It'll be up to Harrison to decide to then swing the axe for 2, but he does actually have the Minnowism, which means that he can actually block that axe for 2 without giving it a buff from Bolton's effect. So he's actually got a very nice hand here to try and do something, but he then does leave himself with 2 reds. Might choose to give up one of the 3 blocks against the axe.
UK calling champion. Really having to.
It's what I'm saying
Squeak
with
through.
the block is it's only attack reactions if he blocks. It's only attack actions if he blocks this, and he has an attack reaction in hand, so he can actually block this without buffing it and dying.
Had the call for 9 minutes left on the round.
So Sammy
This
should
is-
have this covered. He just
Ooh.
needs to decide what cards he wants to block with.
This is tense. This is tense stuff.
And it's if Harrison wants to give up. Yeah. So it already has go again, so he does need to keep the 2-block non-attack action to block the axe with, because if he blocks the axe with attack action, Harrison will still have a card in soul, can use that last resource to swing the second axe, and that's game.
Double block again.
Yeah, interesting. Gonna try and decide to yeah, just sort of double block that and then block this out. Not going to buff it, and then he's going to swing back with a really tricky card in a second. We'll see. We saw it at Arsenal the previous turn. It's a very difficult card to block when you're on low health.
Okay, here we go.
So Surging Militia, for every card you use to block it, it gets +1. So if you block it with 2 cards, it actually goes up to 7, and you still take 1 damage. So if Harrison's got some 2 blocks, this could be pretty awkward. Looks like he might be okay, though. But it is going to force a double block here from Harrison, and he might even still take a damage if he does that.
Both players now sitting with a card in soul, so sitting comfortably, but those decks must be getting slim.
Harrison can't 1-card block this. If he does, he will lose, because it will buff Surging Militia to 6 power. He's on 3 health, and that'll be that. So it forces a double block, and he'll even lose a life with that double block.
Harrison looking tensely at his cards.
And I'm pretty sure that Sammy pitched a blue for this play. So if Harrison does block this, it will buff it, and then he can follow up with a axe. So he might actually draw 3 cards from Harrison this turn. If he uses 2 cards to block it, which he has to do, he takes 1, goes down to 2. Sammy then banishes a card from Soul, swings the axe for 2. Harrison has to block that axe. So this is a really nice play from Sammy. He's going to get Harrison down to 1 card. I think Harrison sees it. I think he realizes what's going to happen. He needs to think what's the last card he wants to keep in his hand.
It's so interesting. He managed to really swing the tempo, Harrison, in his favor, and then Sammy over the last 3 or 4 turns has just managed to like eke it back incrementally.
You're absolutely right, Sean. It's been really good to see Sammy gradually pull back that tempo that he lost from that beacon turn.
Not been like a big swing. No. It's just been like Sammy just slowly, like, I see you don't have any. I'm just going to put this card over here. Slowly, just.
It's just the patience.
Pulling it back.
Just the patience from Sammy to keep Arsenal in the cards, keep playing these turns, and just try and gradually get Harrison to start blocking with 1 card, get Harrison to start blocking with 2 cards, and now we're going to see Harrison having to block with 3 cards. It's all because Sammy was able to keep hold of that card in soul to force this turn right here. But of course, this is going to leave Sammy without a card in soul. But what does he have? He has his Halo.
Yeah.
At any point, if he needs to, he can try and get a card in soul with the Halo. It won't be a charge, but it will be enough maybe to give something go again.
And it is also at instant speed as well, right? So it can be activated on a pinch. Yeah, so Harrison acknowledges.
It's exactly what we said would happen. Takes 1 here from the buff, and then swinging with the axe to force another block from Harrison. He is going to have to give up a 3rd card here, leaving himself on just 1 card in hand.
It's coming in for 2 or 3?
It's coming in for 2.
For 2. Axe for 2.
This is indeed the first round of draft. It's been a belter of a first game, I have to say.
Yeah.
Not a super fast.
It's warming up in here.
Paced game, but a slow, steady one. We're seeing tempo go back and forth. A really explosive turn from Harrison with a beacon of victory. That one off beacon of it. Well, maybe one off. You never know. But Sammy gradually regaining tempo, and we actually see Harrison. Is he going to Arsenal this card? Surely he's got to force a block from Sammy here by pitching it. Yeah.
Pitches to an axe, coming in for 2. Axe for 2.
Sammy has a great hand with second swing. If he can somehow give an axe go again, which he might be able to do, play it out. I'm not sure if he's got the resources for it.
Well, no, he's got a blue, so he could pitch to the Halo.
I think I like the pitch to the Halo, get a card into the I
See
think
what you
Sammy's got
pull.
barely any cards in deck. Can he get the win with
He's
this
got
like
two.
final hand? Harrison might just like try and shut up shop here and be like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let you have it. You're gonna run out of cards, mate.
This is tight. This is very tight. Harrison really asking a lot of the UK calling champion here. 4 minutes left on a round. Sammy needing to block.
Gonna give it the second swing. Gonna try and make something happen with the last 3 cards. Maybe gonna do something with the Halo here to try and give himself a bit more go wide potential.
Harrison revealing maybe about 3 or 4 cards. He's probably got another hand left left to draw. This is tight. Both players.
I'm just not sure if Sammy's got
Really?
really any way to give. He needs to threaten lethal one. He needs to charge and then threaten lethal to force a block so that he can then give that card go again. I think that's what he's going to try and do.
So pitches to cross the line. Charges, as we said, 1 for 5.
So now
Asking a
if
2-card block from Harrison.
blocks with attack actions, it will get a buff, which will then allow Sammy to banish card from Soul and try and give it go again. But I think Harrison's just going to block this out. Oh, he's got a blinding beam in hand, which is really awkward. And 2/2 blocks. That might actually be enough.
Yeah.
So that's going to buff this up to 6 already.
Mm.
Then he's going to blinding beam it, which means it's not going to get go again because it's going to minus it back down. It no longer has power greater than its base, and Sammy's not going to be able to swing with the axe this turn.
Oh. Harrison's had 2 fantastic cards with that bolt of
That
courage.
has shut down that turn, and that
Plus the
normally
blinding
would be
light.
a bit of a disaster, but against Bolton, those blinding beams can
Yeah.
do work. And now
Sammy draws
Harrison
the remaining 3 cards in his deck.
did Arsenal
down
card
now.
the previous turn.
Harrison just swing an axe. Coming in for 2.
Sammy's going to have to block this.
Yeah.
He's got barely any cards left in deck that can do anything. I think that's going to be it for Sammy. He just
Yeah.
doesn't have enough cards left in deck to actually get this.
Right. Harrison's just going to be swinging axes until Sammy doesn't
Maybe
have
he
anything
goes.
left.
No, that's
not
gonna
enough.
be that's going to be
Yeah,
it.
it's not enough. That's it.
Harrison's got enough to win this. He's got some plenty of attacks left,
Sammy not going down without a fight.
and also Harrison still has the card in Soul. If he's able to somehow buff something, he can just force the rest of the cards out of Sammy's deck, and that's going to be it.
Yeah. That's it, I'm afraid. Harrison just applying the final
Double
blows to
blocks this,
Sammy.
playing around. I don't know what it could be. It could be something, but just keeping himself better safe
Anything.
than sorry.
Playing around anything.
Sammy left with 2 cards. Just needs to push. Oh, yep, going to push 4 damage here. He is on higher health, so this is only for 4, but it's going to be enough to take out Sammy.
2
He's
block.
going to have to block with both of these cards, and that's going to be it.
Well, that's it.
And Harrison still has cards in deck. Can just
Sammy
swing
laughing,
that axe and win this game.
That's
And
it.
that's going to be it.
That's
That's
it.
game. What a fantastic game. What a nail biter. I thought Sammy was getting his way back in there, but he just ran out of deck.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That beacon turn was huge. Absolutely
mega.
changed the dynamic of that game, and just Sammy did so well to get back, but just couldn't get back quick enough. And
No.
just ran out of cards in deck.
Yeah.
Felt like the momentum had finally got back in Sammy's favor. Just then no cards.
Just
to-
no cards to
no cards left
no
in deck to do
answers.
anything with
There was
it.
nothing else. So, what do you think then has maybe gone wrong there for Sammy?
I don't think-
Is there maybe an issue with how many cards you should present?
No, I don't
Or-
I don't think anything's gone wrong. I think it's just that the beacon turn was just so good. If you look at what cards was in Sammy's hand, he had the spill blood turn ready to go.
Yeah.
He had his big turn ready to go, but Harrison got to his beacon turn before Sammy got to
moment
his spill
before,
blood turn,
yeah,
and it just
yeah.
meant that Harrison was able to enable his unfair turn, which is what you can do in draft. If you do have an impactful majestic or an impactful rare like V for Vanguard, if you get to have your unfair turn and not only do that, but in the process strip the other player of their unfair
their big
turn,
threat.
which would have been Sammy's spill blood turn, being able to do this dominated big axe turn,
Yeah.
maybe with a second swing or something, maybe develop something huge to win the game.
Yeah.
But Harrison got to do it before Sammy could. Now Sammy's deck looked pretty decent, but like it could do some work. But it just Harrison got there first and completely changed the direction that game was going in. It was just not what clearly wasn't what Sammy was expecting that turn to be. Was just thinking, oh, he's just swinging an axe, I'm safe.
Yeah.
Harrison gave up a lot to do that, giving up the last card in his soul, and we saw him struggle with that later on, not able to develop enough damage to take down Sammy. And Sammy did pull it back, like you were saying, Sean. Like gradually, they brought it back.
It was
But
fantastic.
not enough cards in deck left at that point to use the momentum that Sammy scraped it back turn by turn. We saw Harrison blocking with 1 card extra, then 2 cards, and he had to block with 3 cards with that Surging Militia turn. And you thought, well, okay, Sammy's actually finally back in it.
Yeah.
He's now in the driving seat. And then you took a look at his deck and he had 2 cards left in it. So he gave up everything to get the tempo. And then because he had nothing left, couldn't actually win the game, even though he had the tempo at that point.
Oh, it's just a spectacular game. And, you know, Sammy's shown us at the calling and now again at the UK Nationals. You know, he's made it this far, right? With 3 wins under his belt. So it'll be interesting. We'll obviously keep in touch with Sammy. We'll see how he gets on through the rest of the draft as he goes through the day, because he's, you know, a particular high-profile player that we'll be certainly keeping our eyes on. We'll also be bringing an interview from Baz as well.
If we have time, the draft games, that was quite a long one. So if we've got time for an interview, we'll bring it on. Otherwise, we'll just go straight into game 2. But thank you everyone for joining. I think if anyone had any doubts about how good draft games was, I think that was an absolute banger. So stick around for the next couple, and we'll go back to the studio now, and we'll be back with either an interview or game 2 very shortly. So stick around for more Flesh and Blood action here at the UK National Championships.
Thank you very much.